Hey, it's Rob Folia with Folia Properties at Keller Williams Realty, and wanted to come to you today to give you a mid-month, a special mid-month episode of the Real Real Estate Show. I've been getting so many questions recently about the market. People saying things like, "Oh, the market. When's the market going to come back? When's, um, basically a lot of confusion out there. I guess you could say about the market." I thought it was worth doing another typical Real Estate Show episode where we go through, we look at the facts, we look at the numbers, we use not only our prior experience, but we use the data that's out there today to base our decisions. And what data you might be asking? Well, let's just dive right in and take a look. Um, and let's start with mortgage interest rates. And so mortgage interest rates is still a hot button topic that's out there, and mainly because a lot of experts, 12 months ago, and 12 months ago, you can see um, week ending June 16th, 2022, the 30-year fixed rate was 5.78. That's what Freddie Mac was reporting. So about 1% lower than it is today. And all the experts were saying last year, the end of last year, going, when whether it was, end of summer or going into the end of last year when rates were getting close to 7%, above 7% at certain times, all these quote unquote experts were saying, marry the house, date the rate, and refinance later. Some experts were saying that rates were going to dip into the fives again this year, and they might. I mean, we don't know. I mean, they might go up, they might go down. Nobody knows for sure. And that's why I've constantly said in these videos over the years to use the data that we have today to base your decisions. And we can look at prior experience as well, but we don't want to speculate with prior experience. And so based on the data that we have right now, rates are in the high sixes, and that's what Freddie Mac is reporting. When you actually, what I'm seeing is when you shop around to actual local lenders and get rates, because there's expense for mortgage companies to get a mortgage, or to finance your mortgage. The reality is I'm seeing that this number is actually into the sevens, into the low sevens for a lot of mortgage companies. Not a bad thing, but as always, and I've said this, I've preached this, I've been hitting this drum for a year now with rates rising. Just pay attention to affordability, because that's really what matters. And that's why I wanted to pull up foliaproperties.kw.com or just foliaproperties.com. On the top right, you'll see Folia Properties. Click that, click Mortgage Calculator, and you have the ability to go through here and just plug in numbers. Take a look at plug in 7% for your rate instead of the 3 that it auto populates, and take a look at what your numbers might look like at certain payments with down payments, etc. Get a feel for if you find that house that you're looking at actually affordable for you, because that's really what matters. Because if your payment was going to be $2,500 a month at a 6.69% interest rate, I mean, guys, that's what matters. Not what it could be if rates drop next year, or not trying to forecast what home values are going to be in 6 months or a year, because nobody knows. Use the data that we have today to make your decisions, and this is what the interest rates are looking like right now. And in fact, let's use RealTracs, the data that I have access to as a realtor here, to dive into what the market is doing today. And so this was probably the second part of the equation, because I'm having people say something to me, say things to me recently about interest rates and what's happening with the market, et cetera. Um, and they think the market's slowing down, and it is and it isn't. And so here's what I mean by that. So what I've got here pulled up are just closed sales in our entire MLS, which is a pretty large area. In fact, let's just make it simple and look at Davidson County. All right, closed sales in Davidson County for May, 1,178, down 12% year over year. Why does that matter? Why am I bringing this up? Well, it depends on who you're talking to in terms of and I guess put a big asterisk next to, is the market slowing? Because the reality is, yes, this is less units than we had last year. And in fact, if you go back 5 years, May of 23, 11, let's just call that 1,200 homes. May of 22, 1,350 or 1,340. May of 21, 1,500. So you can see the reality is, I mean, May of 2020, that was a pandemic year. I don't know if I put much stock into that, but May of 19, 1,500. So you can see it's roughly 20% lower than that 1,500-ish trend line we were seeing typically in May, going back to 19 again throughout the pandemic year. But 1,500, roughly 1,500, even right here. I mean, well, that's 1,340. Point being, yes, numbers are down, but that doesn't affect you as a consumer. So I'm not talking to the real estate agents that might be seeing this. I'm talking to the homeowners, the home buyers, the home sellers that are out there, that as a homeowner, this does not mean the market's slowing. This just means there's less inventory out there, that there's less homes. It means there's going to be less homes for you to buy as well. And I think this trend's going to continue. Look right here at new listings. You can see here from March to April to May, we see a negative trend. That's kind of atypical. I mean, you can see this is kind of stagnant, but then it typically jumps this time of year. It's down 21% in terms of new listings for Davidson County year over year. Um, that's a trend that I'd be a little concerned about in terms of as a home buyer. I think it's a great thing as a home seller. Homes for sale, you can see the same thing. It's only down 1% year over year, but there's a big major but next to that only 1%. The fact that, look, it's 3,200 homes this year in terms of total homes for sale in Davidson County, 3,200 last year. So it's basically even. But look at this trend line last year. So it bottomed out at the beginning of last year, and then all of a sudden, it's typical trend line. It's like a bell curve, goes back down at the end of the year. That's a normal market that we were seeing. Same here. I mean, again, look in 2019, 2020, same thing. Even 21, we saw the same bell curve, just kind of a weird looking bell curve because it peaked and then bottomed out. But again, typically there's a bell curve for homes for sale. Look at this flat line right here. This looks very reminiscent to the beginning of 21. I think it's going to continue to be a bell curve, but it's going to be a bell curve that keeps going down at the end of this year, unless something just significantly changes in our economy. So not just the real estate market, but I mean something significantly changing in our economy. Because think about this: if you're a homeowner and you kind of want to move but don't need to move, you have a mortgage, of a 3.5% rate because you bought a few years ago, and you need to buy with a mortgage again. If you're looking at things and you say, well, hey, I could exchange my 3.5% rate, but I don't need to move, and I get a 7% rate. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I wouldn't necessarily do a superfluous move right now if I didn't need to, And so I'm just throwing that out there for everybody to just be thinking about the total economic conditions. But again, this does not mean it's a slower market. This just means there's less options out there for home buyers. It means it's a good market for home sellers too, because the reality is that there's less competition. And in fact, let's look at one other thing. And I think they fixed this here in the system. Days on market. They did. And so right here, this is days on market. This just simply means, and let's see if there's one that looks a little bit. Yeah, let's look at median, because average is going to get skewed if there's a home that has sat out there forever. Median gives us right there in the middle of the data. So anyway, right here, days on market, and you can see typically there's a spike for days on market at the end of the year, beginning of the year, beginning of the year. You see spike here pre-pandemic, spike here beginning of 20, spike here beginning of 21. There wasn't one at the beginning of 22 because that was the craziest market we've ever seen, and probably hopefully we'll ever see in our lifetime. Relatively large looking spike here at the beginning of 23. 3 weeks on the market for median time. It's up from 11 days and all that. But you can see it's going back down. And it's getting back down to what I would consider the normal territory for our market. I personally think this spike right here is related. This 21 days is related to interest rates. Everything keeps going back to this right here, but there's a reason for it, because this number made homes less affordable for everybody getting a mortgage. Which I don't have this stat. I am pulling a number out of the air, and yet I just say from experience, roughly 80 to 90% of my clients and the offers also that I field for most of my homes are being financed. They're getting a mortgage. So even if that number is a little high, say it's 3/4 of the home buyers that are out there are getting a mortgage, this number is going to impact this because there's less people that are out there, less buyers that are out there. But seeing 7 for May right here, 7 days on market is the average. And days on market just simply means from when a home hits the market and there's a for sale sign in the yard, they're starting to show, compared to when they go under contract. It's taking 7 days as the median, time for it to for a home to pend. Guys, that simply means it's a strong seller's market, and that continues to feed into the number that I've shared with y'all forever now, and that's months of supply. 3.3 months of supply for Davidson County. That's a solid seller's market. I know it's up 50% year over year, but remember, beginning of last year was the craziest, strongest seller's market we've ever seen. We'll never see this again, hopefully, honestly, because it was the most frenzied market we've ever seen. It was not sustainable for an economy, But typically, even if you just go back to 2019, pre-pandemic, I mean, May of 19, 3.8 months of supply. That was still a solid, strong seller's market. May of 18, 3.3 months of supply. We're right there right now in May of 23. In fact, I've told many people this market today is very reminiscent to me of that 2017, 2018, maybe even into the beginning of 2019 market, where it was strong, strong seller's market, but it wasn't this right here. And we might not ever get back to this, and that's okay. We don't want to see a crazy frenzied market like this because again, it's not sustainable. That's what could cause some sort of, people use the terms bubbles way too loosely, but some sort of, we'll just call it uncertainty or unstable ground. That's what's going to cause unstable ground for the real estate market when we see this type of inventory, 1 month, 1.5 months. And in fact, we'll just look at a smaller county, still big one, but a smaller county like Rutherford County. You can even see how that number was even smaller. 1 month of supply last year in February. That's ridiculous. 2.6 months of supply for May. That's so solid. That's a great, strong seller's market. What this means, and what I'm getting down to, and again, we can even look at days on market. See here, you can see the same spikes. You can see the same thing. It's going right back down. If it's at 10 days, guys, that's a win for the market right now. And what I'm trying to get at, all these numbers that I want to share with y'all, and obviously everybody's position is going to be a little different. Everybody's everything is going to be a little bit different. So reach out to me if you're curious about what this means for you. But overall, if you're a home buyer, it's not a bad time to buy yet because we're not seeing this yet. If we're seeing this was the market where homes were going for 15, 20% above asking. In great rock solid buyers that were putting 20% down with a conventional loan couldn't compete because they were cash buyers that were winning out. Hopefully, again, we never get back to this, and we're not there yet. And so, who knows? It might drop back down to that. I mean, this curve again is this curve this year is very reminiscent to what we saw at the beginning of 21. And so, if you're looking to buy and it's affordable for you, again, pay attention to that interest rate. Do it now. Pay attention to that. Do it now. If you're looking to sell, if you need to buy a home, I would say do it now before we get back, if we're going to get back to this frenzied market, before we get back there, because there's two sides to that equation. Yes, selling might be a little more advantageous in a market like this, but buying, man, that's going to be a pain. I don't know if you want to deal with that. That's going to be up to y'all. But selling is still a solid time to sell. The biggest thing though is, again, keep in mind that a home that's priced right, positioned right, it's going to sell within a week or so. And even if we look at here the percent of list price, typically we'll look at average because it's a little easier to see what we're looking at. Average home is selling for 99.1% of asking price. So when you're selling a home, we've got to make sure we price it for what it's going to sell for, because that's how you get it sold in a week and it's not stale and you're not giving everything away. We've got to sell it for what we believe it's going to sell for. In fact, I would bet if we looked at Davidson County, it's a very similar trend line, right? Saw that peak last year, and look, it's almost 99% right now, 98.7%. And so I'll stop rambling about numbers. I can look at these all day with y'all. And in fact, if y'all want me to, if you're curious about what these numbers mean for your particular situation, give me a call. Because again, I think it's a great time to be buying. And I think honestly, it's a great time to be selling too. Give me a call. You can shoot me a text. If you're seeing this on socials, hit that reply button or that comment button, hit that like, drop us a follow. If you're getting this in your email, hit that reply button. Happy to help however we can. But anyway, y'all, until next time, I so appreciate y'all checking out this video. And if anything, no question is too big or too small. Happy to help however we can. Thanks, y'all. Talk to you soon.